All right. And we have Mitchell Corner here. I know who he is, but I'll let him introduce himself.
Hello, my name is Mitchell. I'm filling in for William. I'm actually not sure why I'm filling in for William right now, but I'm filling in for William. I'll mainly be listening.
He had another commitment. Mitchell is the elect vice president for UCSB Cotillion for next year.
All right.
Okay. So let's see. That leaves Berkeley. I know is busy with All-Star Dance Challenge today, so they won't be joining us. And CCBDC, I did not see. I know that Denise is busy. So I guess the last one that I was expecting to see was UCLA. Let's see. Yeah, UCLA. Oh, also UCSC was planning on joining us. They had limited availability at this time slot, but thought they'd be able to. That'd be Sal Flamenco from UCSC. He's in charge there these days. They were interested in talking about competitions. And this is Andrew Notohama Projo. Hi, guys.
Hi.
All right. So, oh, there we go. There's Taylor. You're on mute, Taylor. You see your lips moving.
Don't let them see me, Matt. I'm not beautiful yet.
All right. So Taylor's still on mute, but Taylor is with UCLA.
He's not talking anyways. It's okay. Hi, Taylor. Oh, you're on mute.
Can't hear what we're saying.
Touch the button. Hit it.
All right. So I think that basically covers who's who. Is there anybody that we've missed?
I think he's Facebook messaging you.
Yeah. Okay. Message in Facebook. Taylor says hardware problems on my side.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay.
Try not to contribute anything valuable, otherwise we'll miss it.
Yeah. All right. So Kelly is on travel. Denise couldn't make it. I think that's the same with some of the other board members. So I wanted to start with a bit of a recap. There's some interesting events that went down in the last couple months since we last met. Mengsha, why don't you start off? Give us a 2-minute recap of how your dance camp went and the associated yard sale.
Sure. So this is the third time we've held our dance camp, and I think attendance has been up actually. So I think it went really well. If you guys have some feedback after about the workshops or whatever, I'd be really happy to hear about that. We had 2 standard coaches, 2 Latin coaches, and this was the first time for us hiring all of them. Gotten really good feedback for the standard coaches, so for the Latin coaches.
Yep.
And then I think we had like 30-something attendees. The yard sale, I think, went really well. It seemed to go really smoothly. We sold like 8 or 9 things. I heard that there were some UCLA people who just dropped by for the yard sale and then left. And yeah, I think people found it really useful. So I think we will continue to hold these things again next year.
Question. It occurred to me that so dance camps are a good place to have these sorts of exchanges of costuming, shoes, etc. Is this something that you might recommend to competition organizers to consider if they can, including as part of their competitions?
I think so. If you have the space. I think the main thing for us was just finding a space to hold it that wasn't in the way. It was pretty simple. We just had each person who brought in an item fill out a card with their name and the description of the item and the price. And it was actually a decent fundraiser for us because we took 15% of the selling price for like practice wear and shoes and then 10% for costumes. So I think if comps are willing to like devote one person to man that desk all day, and and like want a little bit more cash, that might be a good idea.
Yeah.
Especially at the beginning of the term, I think. Since ours tends to be at the end.
Yeah. I'll mention one other consideration for anybody who's thinking about running that kind of event. I thought it was fantastic. For UCSB, I know the administration has a number of rules regarding how money is handled and just administrative details. I mentioned that not to discourage anybody, but if anybody is interested in doing something like that, just be aware that your schools might have some number of rules. You just want to look into those up front, and so you don't get caught by a surprise later. But yeah, good event from where I stood. The gala, I guess we don't have anybody from Claremont here, but they had their dance gala on April 27th and surrounding dates. Mini beach ball at UCSB went down also since last time we met. That was a very good experience. Mitchell, I think you were a little bit closer to it than I was. Do you have anything that you might add about mini beach ball, things, lessons learned, or experiences that are worth sharing with the rest of the community? I'm totally putting Mitchell on the spot, by the way, just so everybody.
That's how we do it. Throw him in the fire.
So there wasn't too much on my end really to say about it. Definitely, I think it worked really well. We ended up having, oh boy, like I think somewhere in the 50 people range total. So a pretty large number of competitors. It was a rather small room, but it happened to actually work out perfectly fine. So you didn't need the entire space that you normally use for a dance competition. And then, yeah, in terms of I guess the only thing that I can really contribute if people are looking at doing like the same thing later is just in terms of places where you can save a lot of money compared to a normal competition, because part of the point of it is that you're keeping registration down, and so you really don't have anywhere near as much to spend as normal. Is that, you know, your judges are free, and you can normally reserve a room. You can normally reserve a room that costs a lot less. And then, of course, obviously no showcase, or at least no paid showcase, but that I feel like is pretty obvious there.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know. It worked really well. The fundraiser afterwards was awesome too. We had like 35 people at this tiny little restaurant.
All right. So for anybody, I'll open up the floor for a moment. Anybody who's attending any of these events, any questions or feedback about those? This is intended to be a good forum where if things went really well, you can say, hey, good job, or things that you wish had gone a little bit differently. You know, please feel comfortable to offer constructive feedback also.
I had a couple of kids go to the mini beach ball, and I think it was really helpful for them. And I think the fundraiser in particular was a really great idea, especially since after we finished the competition, it was dinner time anyway. So.
Yeah, I also went to mini beach ball, and I thought it was really fun, and with the 4-hour drive down. So.
Yeah. All right. So, speaking of competitions, the most critical item I wanted to touch on today, unfortunately, we've got a few schools missing, but the competition season for 2018-2019, a lot of dates are still up in the air, of course. Not everybody can book their rooms this far in advance. I know a few schools can, and that is awesome. I put together a record of where past CDA competitions have been, so I'm going to go on screen share here. And here we are. So this is tracking CDA competitions that have submitted their results in the past to Chris Alwood for tracking and ranking. So that's why if we scroll over here to toward the end of the year, we don't have a lot of like Stanford and the later Orange Blossom balls shown here. I've thrown in some prospective dates where we think competitions are likely to land for 2018-2019. Let me just highlight that. There we are. So if we look back in the past, CDA has been tracking competition records and results since 2013. And we've got beach ball here shown in orange. We've got Spartan shown in yellow. Claremont Showdown shown in light blue. That's the fall circuit as it stands. historical dates, everything above this line, and then within rows 28, 29 here. Is this large enough where people can see?
Mostly.
Mostly. We'll make it a bit bigger. How's that?
It's good.
All right. So we've got 28, 2019. I'm showing prospective dates here, which is why there's multiple dates. Showdown is looking at a couple of dates. Spartan is looking at a couple of dates. I threw in some possible dates here for 2019 as well when I was aware of what those might be. And then scrolling to the winter quarter, we've got Mustang Ball in February, more or less, a couple dates they're looking at in 2018, 2019.
We have the 9th confirmed now.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll just reformat that.
As of like last week, so.
Cool. All right. It says Mustang, the 9th.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we've got Glamour SmackDown, the February 18th, 17th, consistent dates from the last couple of years. They're looking at, so of course, the 16th for this year. Cal Berkeley, their date is a little bit dependent on what they're able to book. They're looking at the 23rd. Their backup date was the 16th. Cal Berkeley is not here, so we'll leave that aside for now. I'll reach out to them in minutes afterward and see how their situation is. Splitting of attendance between Glamour SmackDown and Cal Berkeley, maybe not that big of a deal. How do people feel about that if they have any opinions at all?
Cal Berkeley and San Jose are the only two NorCal comps, so they tend to draw more people. Not to mention, just the circuit in general doesn't get to see them as much. So my only worry is that it would draw more of the Central Coast people towards Glamour SmackDown, which really detracts from the NorCal scene, which is suffering because we lost Stanford this past year.
Yeah.
So if we can avoid booking anywhere close to each other, that'd be great, because I know people don't like traveling multiple weekends in a row.
Yeah, trying to get a full weekend separation between dates is probably not super realistic, just based on the number of weekends available. Yeah. But
not to mention, it looks like March is completely unbooked.
It kind of does, yes. So that I've put in this blue box here is when Dance by the Shores is likely to be. I don't have historical dates, but I believe that they're generally this window here, more or less.
But it will be interesting because they're also splitting right now.
That's right. Let's come back to that in just a second. UCSD was thinking about maybe joining us today. There's an update from San Diego that we should cover. We'll go to that in just a second. And then out here in April, right now, Orange Blossom Ball is in this range, thereabouts. And then Stanford, if they were to host a competition next year, the date that I had heard was maybe April 27th. So far, so good. Any errors that anybody sees, or any more updates as to prospective competition dates?
So for Spartan, the 2 dates that we had were booked for the ballroom. So we were looking at December 1st.
December 1st.
Right, Danielle?
Yep.
Okay.
We wanted to avoid the overlap with the
Thanksgiving
Glamour, or whichever one that was.
All right, so let me make sure. I think I followed that. So these dates were booked by some other activity.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So then you're looking at December 1st.
Yeah.
Okay.
That'll be our first December comp ever.
Yeah. So looking back, I don't think anybody's hosted anything in December yet, but I've proposed December competitions a few times. I think it's a fine idea. People have any feedback to San Jose about a December 1st competition? Is that a date that people would be interested in going to a competition, or do people foresee conflicts?
I think the main problem with December is that the first week for a lot of schools is finals, and then after finals is winter break. So that basically eliminates the entire month of December for USC students. Same with March. The reason why we did look at March for Glamour SmackDown at one point and eliminated the idea because we realized that all of the schools have different dates for spring break, and there was not really a good way of putting a competition in March so that we could actually have people attend.
Mm-hmm.
I think December would work for quarter system schools, though.
Don't you have finals? Don't you like have finals before that Thanksgiving break? So it should work in theory.
Semesters have finals before Thanksgiving break, and and quarter schools will have finals during December, I think.
All right, because we're on semester, so with us, we just kind of have midterms between the months of like October and December, and then we have finals like in the middle of December. So for us, December would actually work pretty well because we have like a week before finals start.
Okay.
But I'm not certain how it works with quarter systems.
Our finals, upcoming finals, are going to be the week of the 12th, so that should be fine on the 1st as well.
Okay. There's no such thing as a perfect weekend. It sounds like December 1st is good for some people, not good for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, we got Alexander join. Say hello.
Hello. Hi, Alexander here.
And remind me, I've got my list of who's representing what. Forgive my poor memory. Which school are you representing?
Also from UCLA. I'm going to be the president for the 2018-2019 school year. Taylor number 2, basically.
Taylor number 2.
Yeah. Or hopefully, yeah.
Watch out, Latin. Okay. All right, so I'll when I distribute notes then, San Jose, I'll put the prospective date for Spartan as December 1st.
Sounds good.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'll be in touch with Claremont about whether they're leaning toward October 13th. The date that Denise had thrown out was actually November 11th, but I think that might have been a typo. But anyway, they were also looking at this weekend. We're hoping to avoid an overlap there. We've looked, UCSB has looked at, are there other possible dates in November? And there turns out that there really aren't any. The university has their own events that we tried to move last year, and they were not allowing of that. And then I'll touch base with Cal, Berkeley, and Glamour and see if there's an update there as well. Does anybody have a bead on Stanford's situation? I'll take that as a no.
I actually heard that some students are been talking with some coaches and whatnot about possibly getting the team back online, but I'm not certain how quickly they'll be able to move and things like that.
Okay.
So I think there's been some movement in that direction, but I'm not certain how much or how quickly they're moving.
All right. And by the way, go ahead.
If you guys know who to contact and such, I will be in Stanford on Friday. If you guys want me to talk to someone and get updates or something. I don't know if they're like more responsive in person, but anyhow, just wanted to throw that out there.
It's more of a question we don't know. That's the problem. I'm up there too, and I really don't know what's going on with Stanford.
Gotcha.
Would,
okay.
like,
We don't know who to
Kaika
talk to.
Yeah, I believe everything's been going through Kaika.
Ikaika is kind of busy with his comp right now, so
Yeah.
That should have cleared up by next week, right?
yeah. Yep. We can get in touch with him, but it shouldn't be Ikaika's team. It should be a college team.
Yeah. So update on San Diego. So many of you have probably heard San Diego has parted ways with Peter Edwards. The background there in brief is that there was a bit of a disagreement between what direction students wanted to take the team and what direction Peter Edwards wanted to take the team. So they've parted ways. The current approach that San Diego's taking, they were looking for a new coach. It looks like Marcus Johnson is going to be their Latin coach for next year. And as far as I know, they are planning on trying to run a Dance by the Shores, presumably the same weekend. They weren't able to join us today, but I'll stay in touch with them and see how things turn out there. So that's Nicole Wells and Amanda Ridgway are the two that I'm aware of in leadership positions at San Diego. All right. Any other topics on competition dates? Then let me hand it over to Mengsha for a moment. She had an idea she wanted to raise regarding possible CDA dance videos or a CDA channel.
Oh, so I noticed that I film a lot for my students when at competitions, but I also only focus the video on them. So that's something like while I would love to see videos of the entire floor and of my competitors also, like I wouldn't be comfortable sharing videos that focus on my students with the general public. And I feel like you guys all probably do the same, where you take videos of your team members. And I was thinking, since for CDA comps, it might be nice for us to have one YouTube channel where it is just filming the entire floor, so that, I mean, we can still take videos of individual competitors if we want, but then when they watch the videos, they can also see what they look like in the context of the floor. And maybe fewer of us would have to stand around holding cameras.
I believe my team actually does an overall filming of the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And I am, I think we have, it should be on our YouTube account and whatnot, our YouTube channel, with just an overall floor of whatever competition we're at. We just get an overall floor, and it's just like one corner of the room and someone stands there the entire time.
Do you film only the events that you have students competing in, or do you film the entire day?
I believe we try to film the entire day, but it's up to how much battery life we have, actually.
Right.
So, like on our channel, we have because we recently went to like Berkeley and Mustang. We do have Berkeley, the Mustang ball. We have like the gold standard and the Berkeley Classic, Smooth, American category, all syllabus levels and things like that.
Is your channel public, or are the videos unlisted?
Yeah, it should be public.
What's the channel? It's
just SGSU Dancesport. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
For a long time, USC has also been doing that, where we try to film the entire floor, although we do, to conserve memory, only film events that we actually have our teammates competing in. And one thing that we found difficult with the YouTube channel, however, is that because of the music playing, a lot of the videos will get flagged for copyright and taken down. So we've had an issue with that and trying to, you know, find some platform that we can use to share videos with our teammates, because, you know, that's always going to be an issue.
So I believe as long as you put the copyright disclaimer in the info for free use of property, because you're not using for profit, you can get around that as long as you put it in every time you upload. Or I think if you use Vimeo, I don't remember if there's a hosting limit, but I believe Vimeo will automatically link the music information so that you'll get around the copyright as well if you're looking for platforms. That's just an option, but that
could be useful.
Yeah, the only issue that we had with CDA going into recording the floor was that number one, it's a hardware issue. We don't have somebody that has the gear that would be willing to be at every competition, and then it would also be an additional responsibility for somebody, which would change hands because we're not at every competition either. So as far as CDA goes, I don't know how we would create that as a service for everybody, but we could talk about it in the future.
Well, one thing we could do without inventing new responsibilities, you know, certainly if somebody's willing to take video, then we should maybe try to make the best of that we can. If we did some kind of hosting on Vimeo, so right now, Dana, your team, there you go. There's a link in the sidebar, everybody. You're posting up videos. If we reposted links to the videos, whether they're on YouTube or Vimeo, onto a Facebook group or some kind of message thread or email chain or something like that, would that be helpful for people to find videos of competitions the team has been at?
I mean, I think that would definitely be helpful. Of course, I think our team has been keeping the videos on YouTube but private, partially due to the copyright issue and partially due to recognizing that some, like, as at all levels, but especially newcomer and early and bronze, might not be comfortable with having videos of them dancing up on YouTube. So I would definitely have to talk to our board members if, like, how comfortable we feel about that. But then again, at any competition, if someone's filming the floor and posted it on YouTube, we don't really have control over that, so it doesn't matter. So it, you know, whether that person ends up on screen or not, but that might run into, I guess, at the venue, then each competition would have to have, you know, film disclosures at the door, just like I know Glamour SmackDown just did that this year because we had our live stream going.
Mm-hmm.
How many competition hosts have disclaimers or waivers for video and photography rights?
I think we might have some set of waivers, but I'm not certain.
I know it only became an issue when we wanted to do the live stream ourselves. And so that was brought to our attention then. But the year before, we only had a liability waiver for the venue itself.
So that might be something for competition hosts to consider in general, whether photography and video waivers are something they want to tack on to whatever other waiver form people are signing.
But even when for people who don't have these photographer video waivers, like, people are always filming and like taking photos at these events. So how do you like reconcile those things, I guess?
I feel like some of the concept there, right, is that if as an entire organization we're sponsoring putting a video up, right, that's slightly different from things that are out of our control, right?
Right, I definitely say that if CDA is posting videos of the competition, then there's probably a little bit more of, like, some sort of ethical consideration about posting the videos and making sure everyone is, or as many people as we can acknowledge are okay with having their video posted, versus just, you know, a bystander or a parent or another teammate taking a video and posting it on a small channel that's not really being shared, or, you know.
If we took the approach of reposting video links, so for instance, you've got private videos, some maybe people want shared, some maybe people don't want shared. If we, on either CDA website or Facebook, or whatever, reposted links to videos that people were willing to share, I think those videos could still remain private, right? All you need is the link is to view a private video.
For unlisted on YouTube.
Okay. So it would have to be an unlisted classification for the video then. And then that might be a way that we could do some degree of video sharing.
I think that would work. Right now, our team has actually switched to just dumping all of our videos onto a Google Drive with unlimited storage, and have been sharing it through there. Unfortunately, an issue with that, with even among our teammates, is that for some reason, even when you share it as, like, allow them to view the video, it gives them a download link to the video as well. And so that ran some risk with us, where we were like, well, we can tell the competitors from our team, look, here's the videos, but please, please, please do not just download them and share them to, you know, who knows where. But there's that. Definitely, I would have to talk to our board about it, but I think it's something we would be interested in. Although, admittedly, we've been having the issue of, before I was competition coordinator, I was advertising chair and photo and video, and it was a lot of work to film all day, then sit at my computer after a competition and cut all the videos and name them. So we've been having an issue of that, of even within our team, nobody really wants the responsibility of, you know, just handling the videos.
I used to do that for UCSB, I know.
Yeah, I was sort of thinking, because I also do the same thing for my team, but if it were one set of videos for all of us, then only one of us would have to do the work. Or, like, you know, we could take turns, so we would only have to each do one competition per year or something like that.
There's a lot of things that, it just comes down to who's going to be the one, the one to record, and where is the hardware for that going to be. There's a couple methods that we can do, like batch file naming and things like that, which aren't that big a deal. Or we can just upload an hour of this video onto YouTube and post timestamps, like because Stanford actually did that back in the day of videotapes. They're online of Matt in his less than champ years. if you want to look for them.
So then you put those videos, you just put the whole video up as like a 10-hour video,
and then we put the timestamps. Yeah. So, but again, it just this is all good, but it just comes down to hardware. Like who's going to have a camera that's going to last that long, or willing to set up an expensive piece of equipment in a public space. So I think that's a side table brainstorming session. Although it's a good thing to think about. No, I can't talk. It's a good thing to think about, and I think as an organization, it's one thing that might add value to CDA as a whole.
Yeah.
So I think that's a board thing that we have to talk about.
So let's take a slight tangent, which maybe we can use to develop this concept. One of the things I wanted to talk about was how our web presence is. There's a variety of resources that CDA provides. There's one thing that we kind of need to get published to the greater collegiate dance sport community, not just people who are participating with CDA, but people who go to CDA competitions. So for some of the people who are joining us for the first or second time, I'm going to go on screen share again here. We came up with a set of costume guidelines over a period of about 6 months. It was a little bit of a grueling task.
This is cool, man.
Whoa, hold on.
Pick your website before somebody freaks out.
There we go. Okay. So the short version of the costume guidelines, it's not very long, but believe it or not, the people who were part of these conversations can vouch that this was the product of significant hours of work. The longer version of the costume guidelines, still kept down to a page, is a little bit more verbose. But anyway, so this is not anybody's attempt to tell people what they can and can't do, but to try to provide a common definition for what is a costume, and then every college competition organizing team has their own level at which they begin applying costume definitions. If we go to some past history there, you can see different competitions allow costumes from bronze and up, silver and up, gold and up, open only. And so everybody's applying it differently. But one of the things that I think we should do to try to keep everybody on the same page is to at least make some effort to publicize what the costume guidelines that we all recognize are a pretty good definition for what is a costume. And so how do we do that? We've got the CDA website. I don't know how much traffic that gets, probably not a huge amount. And then with hosting videos or sharing video links, there again, the question becomes very pertinent. What is the means by which we make these video links available to people? How do we take that material and turn that into value for people? So I wanted to raise the general topic of how do we increase our visibility or our utility to people? Is it something like using a Facebook page more and linking that to the website? Is there other ways that we can try to make sure these resources are available? My own thought is that even though Facebook is a declining platform at the moment, Facebook probably still is the most visible platform we could use to try to get these resources out to people.
I guess the better question is, does anyone see the need for the website, and in what capacity? That would be a good place to start.
I think just for like costume guidelines, the website is useful in the sense that people who are making websites for their own competitions can link to the CDA costume guidelines, for example.
Yep. So, like, we're talking about the website as
that's what I was gonna say.
As a kind of rule repository, or like a resource for the certification, the ranking, and things like that. It's basically our file folder.
Yeah. So I'm throwing some links in the sidebar here. The website link just went up. There's a couple of other things. I think we have an old set of costume guidelines on the website. So this is not current what I'm going to put up for the costumes, but there you go. And the third big thing that's on the website is Chris's lookup tool. So everybody check that third one out, the /DB at the end. And look up your name. We're going to look up Andrew.
I haven't competed in a while. Oh, yeah, I have.
Looks like Andrew is pointed out of newcomer, bronze, silver, and gold.
What? I can't dance bronze anymore, huh?
Nope.
I reject the CDA. It's not a real thing.
So the website does contain things like these. I'll second the opinions that people were expressing. I think having these available on a website format adds value.
I think ultimately the real question is how do we benefit the communities in general more, right? The website is obviously a resource, and it's going to distribute rules and regulations, and also give you a nice ego boost or ego knock, depending on how well you're doing competitively. But I think CDA is kind of we've kind of plateaued at the stuff we offer, right? And until we can get our 501c3 settled to actually handle money, the question is, how do we help the communities as a whole improve? I mean, glad to have USC here and and SGSU is now flourishing after having gone through their own split. But how do we make sure programs like Stanford and San Diego or UCLA continue to grow? And how do we get people interested in ballroom again? You know, I think all of our clubs are seeing a decline in membership in general. So I guess, is there any way CDA can help make ballroom more interesting to people, including the website as a resource?
I think one inter-team resource that might be helpful is like a coach directory or something like that.
Ooh, I would be a fan.
I'm going to give you a high five for you.
I like that too.
Okay, coach directory. Matt, take meeting notes.
I am taking meeting notes.
Yeah, it'd be helpful just to have
really
some
funny.
like, you know, people's email addresses or Facebook links or like how much they typically charge for a workshop, that kind of thing.
All right, Taylor, say that again.
Taylor, are you live? Speak to me. We need you.
Was just talking to some of the other people. Can you hear me? Is technology working?
You're cutting out like every other sentence, and it's amusing because I'm filling in the blanks, and I might just start speaking for you. No, Taylor, just type it. We'll read it for you. I think that will be quicker. Your Wi-Fi or whatever is kaput. Sorry, man. We get really great snapshots of your face, though. Very photogenic. I'm going to continue talking over you because I don't hear anything from your account.
He's muted right now, so that's expected.
Awesome. All right, it sounds like Taylor is also a fan. So I like that. There's other resources, too, that people have produced in the past. I know Caltech, Mengsha came out with a variety of guides. I looked at some of those. They were very useful to me. CDA has also done some leadership training type stuff in the past, various topics like how to teach group classes, how to run meetings, things like that. And some people have found value in those sorts of things in the past. So I'm going to suggest, people can consider it, but I'm going to suggest that one of the things we should do in the next year is be more active with a Facebook platform and use that to facilitate group discussions. A lot of things have been going by this long-standing Facebook message thread for a while. I think I'd like to have a public CDA Facebook group. We have a CDA Facebook group for competition, for team captains, for board members, but a place that the public can go to access things and get to the website, and where we can advertise these costume guidelines to make sure everybody's on the same page. That's what I'm going to propose. If there's any thoughts or concerns or questions about maybe that's not the right way to do it, Taylor is saying.
I just want to say we do have a public page.
Excellent. Let's use it.
Yay, responsibility. Wait, who owns this page? That's the question. It's one of us.
All right.
Matt,
Yes.
I was wondering, just in terms of this, are you both suggesting that we do this and offering to run it, or are you right now suggesting and also trying to figure out who would be running this page?
Well, running it. There we go. We have a webmaster. That's Andrew's job, technically.
Awesome.
But the idea would be that that any one of us could be admins who post links to videos that we've taken and we're comfortable with sharing, or other resources that we have that we want to make available to the rest of the teams.
Let's just more and figure out who owns this page, because it's not me.
All right, we'll take an action to figure out who owns the existing public Facebook page, and get that active again. All right, 2 other minor items were all that was left on my agenda. On the topic of leadership or development or training in Dancesport or college team specific things, we have done stuff like that before. Caltech has UCSB, Paul Roach. Is that something that people would be interested in? Kelly had suggested maybe hosting some kinds of half-hour telecons where people can call in.
I think that would be really helpful. In terms of like my team and whatnot, we had issues with leadership, and that's why the current people are president in this meeting instead of previous presidencies. So I would think it would be very beneficial for all teams overall, because a strong president would be needed for the team to be able to flourish and such.
My comment on the leadership thing is I see more and more that mentoring in terms of like business development and things like that is becoming more and more of a trend. I think that as alumni and organizers of CDA, some of us can offer our time as well. If that's something that you guys would think was valuable, like if you wanted to sit down, check in like every other month or so with, like, let's say Matt, and he can evaluate you guys and what he thinks would be a good way to grow. Do you think that would be valuable to have us?
I think that'd be really valuable. Already, Jordan and I have been checking in with like me, Tom, and Chenkai and previous presidents to see like what would be the best way to go the direction we want to go and things like that. And they have been giving invaluable advice, and it's kind of why we're staying afloat right now.
Do you guys also think it would be helpful if we, as CDA, we took a more active role in your clubs, where we scheduled the meetings with you like every other month or so, just to check in as an outside evaluator? I know some clubs would rather, hands off. We're doing our own thing, great, but as a community as a whole, we're here to help. So, you got anybody against us kind of sicking a CDA board member on you and just saying, hey, we'll check in with you every other month, be good, or else we'll tell stories about you in the meeting?
I'm slightly against taking too authoritarian of a role.
I think it would definitely be more in an advisor capacity, but it would kind of force and not force teams to actually to be actively considering about their positions throughout.
I think that would be good. Maybe once every term, depending on the school or something like that, or something like that. Because the way Stanford went, it would have been good if someone knew something about how that was going down, or been someone there, I guess you can say.
Cal Poly, any thoughts? Technically, well, if your school already has a board member in it, I think you're kind of exempt from that. I don't know who's going to be better than that.
Chris isn't always around, so like we don't. actually see him at the majority of our meetings ever, but like I know in my 3 years at Cal Poly Ballroom team, there's always some major drama with the administration, and if this was a way of possibly circumventing that or at least dulling that down, I think it would greatly help the team. And I don't know if that's common for a lot of ballroom teams, but
I think it was common for ours in the past semester, though. Definitely, like, where administrators were dealing with their own problems, so we couldn't be focusing on the team as a whole. And having, I guess, someone else that would be there to, not necessarily share the responsibility, but someone to go to, like, asking questions who have been in the ballroom community more often would be greatly beneficial. Because, like, for Jordan and I, we have very, like, we don't have that many people to turn to in terms of like experienced people who have been through the team, because older drama that's been happening, and we have less alumni to turn to and things like that. And other dance politics that restrict our asking around for help, quote unquote, I guess. So I think having an outside advisor would be greatly beneficial for teams like us, or like even like how Stanford when other teams would be, just making sure the touching bases and having someone who is there, but that checks in like once a month or every other month and whatnot, but we can also go to them when we need help as well.
Taylor, I see your comment on the side, and I agree. Technically, we've always been available as this. I think we just don't advertise ourselves as such. What happens, or at least what I've seen in the last couple of years of CDA, is that we'll come to these big group meetings, we'll talk for a bit, and then suddenly someone asks for a side conversation after, and reveals a large bit of drama that we would have, as a community, felt that, hey, we wish we knew about this sooner so we can help you before it blew up. So that's why even though we would post this as a resource, Taylor, I think sometimes if you don't step back and take a look, sometimes you don't see the problem until it's too big, which is why I kind of suggest an outside regular that's like outside of your control to check in, because we don't want you to have to hide things under the carpet. We actually want to help you make sure things stay fresh. So
one thing, there's like, it's hard for, so I've been talking to a lot of different captains one-on-one, mostly through like event planning and stuff. And I feel like I've gotten to know quite a few of them because I've been in this position for a while, but I think it's really hard for people who have new officers every year to really get to know officers on other teams. And I think that we can be a really great resource for each other because we're probably going through a lot of the same problems. We can like, I want to say get together in person more often, but I know everyone's really busy and that's not like super feasible. But maybe like at competitions, since a lot of us are like, tend to compete more often than the beginners at least, maybe we can say like, hey, at this competition, let's have like a CDA dinner. Like at every CDA officer who's there can maybe meet up for like 15 minutes, at least to see each other face to face and maybe check in and get to, that way, like we'll feel more comfortable talking to each other.
I definitely think that CDA needs to have more of a presence, and this is one of the ways I agree with you can facilitate by just making sure that, hey, CDA is a thing. We want the people involved in CDA to come talk to each other, aka the officers. I feel like the leadership of the teams can be a better. Yep, I agree. So that's also something CDA can organize, since we have the contacts of everyone, that we can just recommend, hey, we're going to meet for 15 minutes at this comp here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess CDA will take on that responsibility. Just a 15-minute. I know, because the other problem is I know that teams, you're trying to take care of your beginners, and you'd like your officers to be there for your beginners. So, but we can definitely put 15 minutes aside for each other. So on the meeting minutes, CDA has another responsibility.
Yeah, let's try to coordinate the next competition that is coming up. I guess probably not everybody's going to be at NDCA competitions all at the same time over the summer, so it'll probably be either showdown or beach ball. But let's see if we can coordinate something. You know, barriers of people being busy in geography probably doesn't mean 100% of us getting together. But yeah, let's make an effort and see if we can get something going on next competition people are at.
There's something else in terms of like leadership development that I've been thinking of for a while. So at Berkeley, because a lot of the, like back when I was at Berkeley, it was mainly student taught. And so as a part of training student teachers, we would have pros come in and give teaching workshops where it's not so much like talking about technique or figures or whatever, but talking about like their teaching philosophies and stuff like that. I don't know how many teams around here are student taught and would appreciate something like that, but I've been thinking about integrating something like that into our dance camp for a while.
I think that would be a great idea because the whole student run thing would reduce some coaching costs and things like that. So I'll be definitely up for that.
Okay. So like say maybe we'll reserve like 1 or 2 dance camp slots after all of the main workshops are done. People who want to stay a little bit later can get together with the coaches we've invited and I address a group class. Here's how I approach teaching technique or whatever.
Wonderful.
Actually I teach professionally basically now. The one thing I would hesitate with that is that group classes taught by ballroom professionals tend to be one-off, or they go in series, but they're teaching what fancies them.
Yeah.
Versus like when you have a mixed group of people of skill levels and you want to have a consistency over, we're talking about years, it kind of changes the dynamics of what you want to teach. And not many professionals do a great job outside of private lessons. I'm sure.
I know.
Yeah,
I've seen that. But I think there's 2 aspects to this. One is sort of how do you like talk through technique points, right? And I think being exposed to different pros in a group class setting really gives you more tools, like more metaphors that might work for some of your students. So I think part of it is just expanding your like toolkit.
Yeah.
And I think pros can be very useful for that. And then on the other end, which is like the kind of group class teaching that we do for collegiate teams is, I agree, it's very different. And it's sometimes makes it hard to find pros who like know how to talk to adult beginners, especially. But we have a lot of people who have been teaching group classes for a long time. Like Matt, I'm sure you've been teaching for a while. I've been teaching for a while for the like associated with the Caltech team. Like we have Jason, Francois and Susanna, Ben and Jen taught at Yale, and Jesse and Luca taught at Georgia Tech before coming here. So we can definitely get together and sort of just have like a round table or talk through like teaching styles or something like that. If people who are being trained up now to teach beginner class for the first time are interested in that kind of thing.
Speaking of teaching, I have to go teach.
Yep, I'll see you in a little bit.
For Bay Area people, I'm available actually. I think some of you guys know that. It's just I don't have very much time, but I have trained all the teachers or at least a generation or 2 generations of teachers at UCSB, and their team's doing okay.
Thank you.
It's mostly Matt.
It's really not.
Over the summer?
Mostly, sorry?
Is that the training teachers over the summer? Would that be cool?
Yeah.
Is that something you guys would be into? Like one of the things is like there are not that many people in the LA area who are teaching, right? Like on each team, maybe like 2 or 3. And so it's not really worth putting on an event if not very many people are going to be able to make it.
Because I know Cal Poly, we teach like weekly social lessons, and the people who've been teaching those, they're like the student teachers. Sometimes we get outside teachers, but mostly the student teachers are all graduating this quarter. So I've taught a handful of lessons over the past 2 years, but I would really appreciate direction from someone if that was available. So
Matt mentioned that like I've put out some resources, like I've taught a couple of teaching workshops here.
Yeah.
So those documents are all uploaded on the CDA group, I believe.
Okay,
so
yeah.
You're welcome to read through those. I'm not going to be here for the summer, unfortunately. I mean, we have like 1 week of school left. But that's definitely something like maybe when I get back in the fall, we could get together and do like a couple hours of something if people are interested.
I mean, I'll be interested. I mean, especially my team with, yeah.
Matt, maybe you could pin that Google Drive folder to like the top of the group or something so people can find it.
Is that in the Facebook thread somewhere buried?
I think it's in the group.
Okay. I could probably dig it up, but if you have it handy, it'll be quicker if you resend it to me.
Okay, I will do that then.
And then, yeah, I'll put that. What I think I'm going to do is, this would be more for the coaches, I guess. So we would put this into the private closed group for CDA, I suppose.
I don't mind if people have access to this. So
okay, let's make it public then.
Yeah.
So Taylor's asking which group. So Taylor, there's a Facebook group which I thought you were in, pretty sure. We'll check who's all in. There's a closed group that the representatives from the team and the CDA board members are all part of. We've got an update to make to that with a lot of changeover. The second group that I was referring to, Taylor, is there's a public Facebook page somewhere for CDA. Nobody's really used it for a couple of years, so it's unlikely that you're associated with that in any way. But my intention is to bring that one back up to being active, and then we'll put the link there. There we go. There's the link.
Speaking of which, by the way, I did a little bit of digging on the public Facebook page, and it looked like it was started in Claremont in 2014 and was last active September of 2016. That might help track down who it is.
All right.
Which I can get that to you later, but anyhow.
All right, that may indeed be helpful. Okay, so there's the link. I'll post that up. We did a how to teach group classes thing at UCSB as well. I'm not sure. A lot of that was in person, and we had a document that went along with that. I can post that too if a secondary resource would be interesting. But I do think that doing that sort of thing in person adds a lot more valuable than having something written. Having something written still better than having nothing at all.
There's also one more resource that I can offer. Again, back at Berkeley, when we were training teachers, we had written a couple of exams for our teachers to make sure that they know how to talk through a lot of like technique. So if people want to access those and like go through those with me, I don't think I would want to make the answer key public because I still use them with my students. But I can give you guys access to those exams, and feel free to like contact me and we can discuss.
I would personally be interested in those exams.
Okay.
All right. I do want to respect people's time, so let's just circle back one more. Any further thoughts on this, or else any go backs to previous topics people want to revisit, or any new topics that we can cover yet briefly today? I'll start with Taylor. First quick thing, UCDS, SD maybe? Reading the sidebar here, okay. Are you, okay. Okay, UCSD is potentially interested in joining CDA, so we can discuss that if they decide that they do in fact want to join CDA. By the way, while he's typing, UC Santa Cruz also interested in joining CDA. I guess they weren't able to make this meeting. San Diego is dealing with setting up a bunch of administrative stuff. Yes, but as soon as they get the normal bylaws and stuff set, and the coaches, reading the sidebar here, then they will have a meeting on it. Very good. And we'll know soon. All right, very good, thank you. Mitchell, go back to other topics.
I'm good.
Mangsha?
We're good.
Jordan?
Good. Sorry, good.
Danielle?
We're good.
Dana? Good. Amberly?
We're good.
Alexander?
I'm good.
All right, I'm gonna put, This is important. All right, one more from Taylor. And UCA will not be hosting a competition next year. Okay. Well, we will keep things, yes, we'll keep things on the radar for 2019. UC Santa Cruz also was expressed interest in hosting a competition at some point in the future. So keep your ears open for that. One last final parting note. Kelly has been working on a Spotify playlist for music, which has been screened for competition speeds. I'm posting a link here. For those who are interested, I'll include that in the minutes as well. So if you are running practices and you need to make sure that you have music that's at the correct tempi, or if you're running like a mini competition or something, then this is a resource. Kelly is looking to engage with people as for feedback, as well as other recommendations, music that people want to see on it. So if you're practicing to this playlist or anything like that, and there's things that you want to add or see removed, then by all means, shoot her a note, and that is the kind of interaction she's looking for. All right, it's 11:31, so we'll call it there. Thank you very much, everybody, and we'll be in touch.